Let's finally talk about the 7 swordsmen of the Hidden Mist and their powers, their swords, and the users of those people, and some things you don't truly understand. Let's explain that right now. Throughout the Hidden Mist history, there have been several groups of the 7 swordsmen, not just one. So we're going to cover as many as we can and go through their backstory and what happened to all the 7 swordsmen. That's actually pretty funny, and it has a little to do with Konoha. I will say to you right now, my pronunciations are absolutely terrible, so if I offend you in any way by mispronouncing, I completely apologize. I'll try my best. Just correct me down in the comments. Again, I am from the South. Can't pronounce anything. So we'll start with the swords because that's the main thing. We'll talk about later on the people who wielded those swords and kind of their ranking and how powerful they were. The first sword that we're going to talk about is the Shibuki sword, which is confirmed to be the blast sword and one of the more powerful swords that has a unique ability. This sword actually has a scroll of blast tags that are infinite, and as soon as it contacts somebody, it'll actually go boom, explode, except for the user will not be affected by such blast sword. I don't know how that works, but it does. And it looks pretty cool. If you've seen the reanimated arc, the dude was going crazy with it. Now, next up, we have the Samehada. We actually did a video about the Samehada weapon and Kisame, and maybe they are Jinchurikis. Click on that link right there. Now, the Samehada is a sentient being that allows it to be living and cut through chakra. It also will rip out any chakra, and it can totally replenish the chakra of its user, and it'll protect its user. It's actually one of the most powerful weapons, but not the most powerful. Let's talk about that later on. Now, one of my favorite weapons, and honestly a unique ability in Naruto, is the Nubari, which is basically a sewing needle, which has an infinite amount of sewing strings that are invisible unless you have a keen sense of vision. What it does basically is it's constrain up your opponent, dead or alive, make them into a human puppet. Also, you can make a string field. We all know about the Executioner Blade. Suigetsu had it, Zabuza had it, and Juzo Biwa had it. It's one of my favorite weapons, and if it does break, it can replenish itself by sucking up all the blood, or it just overall just needs iron to replenish itself. It's not really the more powerful weapon. It is one of the cooler weapons, and a lot of my favorite 7 swordsmen actually had that weapon. Next up, we do have the Kiba swords, aka the Thunder swords. These are considered to be one of the sharpest weapons in all of Naruto. What it does is conduct electricity into the blades, and in the Hidden Mist, which is surrounded by water, electricity conductors, hey, that'd be pretty important, and it's really, really fast, and with Amari Ringo on hold of it, whoo, baby, them things was cutting in the war. All right, next up, we do have the helmet splitter, which is basically not even a sword. It's an axe and a hammer, and it was supposed to be able to cut any defenses. All you have to do is smash the axe on top of any sword or defense, and then put the hammer on top of that axe, and then bam, you have no more defense. But guys, it's really not a sword, and you have to have a lot of strength to even wield both of these, and I wouldn't even consider it a sword. Next up, we have the twin sword, which is a bandaged up twin blade that is connected to each other. Now, what it does is store and emit chakra of its user, and it can put it into various shapes and forms. So imagine this in the hands of Hashirama or Naruto. It would be absolutely ridiculous. Most of the time, it's just a giant hammer and a huge energy wave. The first 7 swordsmen that we're going to talk about is Jinin. Not too much is known about Jinin, but he was a part of the 7 swordsmen. When Might Die absolutely obliterated the 7 swordsmen, killed most of their members. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but Jinin was reanimated as he was worthy. I guess he was strong enough, but he didn't really do too much in the war arc. He kind of was defeated pretty quickly, and the helmet splitter wasn't that big of a problem. The next one on the list is Jinpachi. Jinpachi was the definition of Blood Mist Village. He loved to kill not only his allies, but his enemies. He also killed his own brother, became a 7 swordsman, and he had such an expertise on blast axe that they just gave him the sword and were like, go crazy with it. And go crazy he did. In the war arc, he was reanimated, and he was partnered up with somebody that we'll talk about later on the list, and they absolutely obliterated teams with ease and even killed each other just for fun because they knew, hey, we're not gonna die, let's have a little bit of fun. And that's exactly what they did. Kabuto just sent them on a warpath. Jinpachi was the definition of a killer, and he definitely loved being a 7 swordsman. And he was also killed by Might Die. That dude got obliterated. He killed like everybody. Next up, we have one of my favorite 7 swordsmen and one of the strongest Kunoichis of all time, especially in the Hidden Mist Village. We have somebody that has a lightning release and capable of using the silent killing technique, and that is Amari Ringo. My guy even said she was capable of killing 100 Chunin by herself. without even breaking a sweat. Now we know the Kiba swords are a conductor of electricity, and she had the lightning release, so she was able to summon thunderstorms without doing too much, and she had a lot of chakra pull, but unfortunately she died of an incurable disease, much like Itachi. But I think Itachi's disease could have been cured by the Nara, but that's a different video for a different day. There's something a bit different about Amari Ringo. She had a high battle IQ, one of the smarter 7 swordsmen, and also gave mad respect to Amoi, who fought her off during the war arc while his allies fled, and she later gave him her swords because she respected him so much. But she did revel into fighting and killing her opponents. She never missed her mark, and honestly, we do underappreciate her very much. Our next 7 swordsman on the list is Kushimaru, and he had the Nubiari, and we know that he killed his sensei. We don't know too much about him, but this weapon was perfect for him. The Nubiari is a sewing needle that would just sew your opponents together or rip them to shreds. The guy was a ruthless killer that loved to crucify his opponents. He loved to showcase his opponents, their allies, so that would mess with them a little bit psychological and kind of rip them to shreds, not only outside but internally, and really mess with them mentally. He loved to hear people scream. He was probably one of the more ruthless killers of the 7 swordsmen. Unfortunately, he did meet his, well, I guess not unfortunately, he was a ruthless killer, but he did meet his demise from Might Die, entering the 8th gate as well. Let's talk about one of the most worthless characters in all of Naruto, the scum of the earth in Naruto, the worst 7 swordsman of all time, but not in strength, and that would be Fugaki. Fugaki is terrible. He's a horrible human being. Lied to my man Kisame, who Kisame was the most loyal person ever, but Fugaki was his sensei, quote unquote, and had control of Samehada, which you know only likes good chakra. Check out that video up here somewhere, I guess, maybe. But Samehada was only going to pick people who had massive amount of chakra. You look at my guy tried to touch it, and Samehada was like, absolutely not, my guy. Fugaki was so strong, he had the silent killing technique, which we'll talk about in a little bit, how important it is for 7 swordsmen to know that, and how rare it is in the hidden mist to even have it. Fugaki was also so strong here, guys. He survived the attack from Might Die. He entered 8th gate and knocked all of his allies out except for him and a few other filler characters. But hey, we saw Madara get slapped up by Might Guy, so you gotta be pretty powerful to survive a giant kick to the forehead. But what happened and why he is this scum of the earth? Fugaki told Kisame, hey, if they are about to be captured, aka the Cypher Corps, you kill them all and get out of there. When Kisame comes back after killing the whole Cypher Corps, who he became connected with, he's connected with most of the Hidden Mist Village. Kisame is a very loyal person, especially to the Hidden Mist Village, but I digress. Listen, he went to Fugaki, and Fugaki was basically counting his money after he basically just sold all the ninja secrets to every ninja village of the Hidden Mist. Like, Kisame got there and was like, bro, I'm gonna kill you, and that he did. Next up, we have Juzo Biwa, one of the 7 swordsmen, of course. Now, what he did before becoming an Akatsuki member is a little not known, but we know a bit about him. He was actually really powerful, but did not know the silent killing technique, but he did use mist, he used the water release technique, and he could use some pretty powerful kenjutsu, which he used with his giant sword, the Executioner Blade, which could repair itself if blood came on it or any other iron. But Juzo Biwa was actually pretty talented. He did survive the 8th gate from Might Die, and then joined the Akatsuki, and then later on died from the Mizukage. Juzo Biwa is actually a pretty talented ninja, and he actually kind of mentored Itachi and kind of showed him what a 2-man squad would look like. Kind of took him in, because when Itachi came in, Itachi was like 14 years old, and Juzo was like 20 years old. So it was kind of a little brother, big brother, and kind of taught him techniques, kind of showed him, hey, this is how you can kind of combine your attacks with a 2-man squad. The next person on the 7 swordsman list is Chojuro. I'm not going to talk too much about him because he's still alive and one of the remaining 7 swordsmen, but he didn't have too much chakra. He doesn't know the silent killing technique. He uses water release, but he does have enough chakra to use the twin swords, but it's nothing crazy. Now, the next 7 swordsmen on the list, a lot of people already know Zabuza Momochi, but did you know Zabuza was not originally from the 7 swordsmen? He was actually just a jonin that inherited the Executioner Blade after Juzo Biwa died. Fugaki saw that guy and he was like, that guy's pretty tough, I'm not gonna lie to you. Let's talk about Zabuza and his techniques. We all know he knows water release, we know he knows the silent killing technique, but did you know he is actually extremely talented and became the demon of the mist because he murdered his whole academy and thus becoming the essence of the Blood Mist Village. but Zabuza actually has some hidden things that you did not know about. Now, it's heavily publicized that Zabuza was fed up with the Blood Mist Village and its techniques, where he would do assassinations on government officials. Same with Kisame. We'll talk about Kisame and Zabuza and their partnership a little bit later when we get to Kisame, but Zabuza was taking out government officials before his giant coup, and he had to gather surroundings, he had to gather funding, he had to gather support before he could launch this coup. Did you honestly think it was just him and Haku going against the whole Hidden Mist Village? Of course he's not that dumb. Actually, Zabuza's IQ is actually ridiculous for battle tactics. Some of those supporters actually include the Demon Brothers, you know, the dudes with the claws that Zabuza was like, yo, kill Kakashi, and Kakashi was like, it hasn't rained in a month. Why is there a puddle on the ground? And they were like, claw. And he was like, I'm gonna take the trash out. Fun fact, one of his followers was Gengo from the Hidden Mist Village, which we see Shikamaru deal with and Sai get bodied by. Now, Zabuza obviously took his weapon with him, and that left the Hidden Mist Village without one of its famed swords, and he later on dies by Naruto, Sasuke, Kakashi, and Naruto's Talk no Jutsu, and later is stabbed by like 1 million people, and then lays down next to Haku and is like, I'm no longer a demon. Next up, we have one of the more powerful 7 swordsmen, Mangetsu Hozuki. I almost mispronounced that really bad. He was one of the more powerful 7 swordsmen because he knew how to use every single one. He actually used the twin sword before Chojuro, and he actually had a huge chakra pool because he comes from the lineage of the Hozuki family. The Hozuki has a Mizukage in its lineage. The Hozuki have a pretty nice little Kekkei Genkai that they have there. They can turn their body all into water and make water pistols, and they also are very talented swordsmen. Actually, my man Mangetsu could use the silent killing technique, which is no surprise since he was a very powerful ninja at the time. Mangetsu also trained very hard with his brother Suigetsu to become a 7 swordsman. Unfortunately, then Mangetsu died, and then, you know, Suigetsu was like, I'm gonna go chill with Orochimaru for a little bit. You guys know the story by now. Let's talk Kisame Hoshigaki, the most powerful 7 swordsman of all time. This man is a monster of strength. This guy is so powerful, even Samehada got a little bit drunk off his power. This man is called the tailless-tailed beast for a reason. The chakra pool is ridiculous. He also knew the silent technique. He also knew the water shark. He was part of the Hoshigaki family, which is a powerful shark type human person. You guys kind of already know the story of Kisame, but you don't really know the whole story of my guy. Before Kisame was a 7 swordsman, he was a very important jonin that protected the Cipher Corps, and the Cipher Corps would take information from one front line to the other, and he had to basically protect them until they met Ibiki, and Ibiki was in charge of interrogation in the Leaf Village. The Leaf Village might have not been the good guys, as he literally tortured people to get information, knew that they would get the information from the Cipher Corps, and Fugaki told him, hey, if they're about to be captured, you need to slaughter them all and get out of there as quick as possible, and if you're captured, make sure you kill yourself as well. So that happened, met Fugaki, and Fugaki was literally counting his money, saying, oh, I just sold all that information, or caught him in the act of selling information to other ninja villages. So Kisame said, I'm gonna kill you anyways, kills him, takes Samehada, and Samehada gets a little drunk off his power. They create a great bond. He becomes a 7 swordsman, and they go on pretty much a bunch of missions for the 7 swordsman. Now, there's actually a year or two in between here. He didn't immediately take Samehada like most people think and go to the Akatsuki. He meets Madara, aka the Mizukage at the time, and the Mizukage is being controlled by Madara basically. Hey, do you want to join the Akatsuki? And he was like, no, I'm loyal to the Hidden Mist Village. And a bunch of stuff happens, and he's basically seeing the Hidden Mist Village turn into the Blood Mist Village, and he hates it. He hates the killings. He hates seeing his loyalty. He hates seeing his comrades die for nothing at this point. So then he says, you know what? I don't fit in anywhere. I don't see a point of me being here anymore. So he joins the Akatsuki, where he meets Itachi. Kisame and Zabuza actually are the ones that want to change the Blood Mist Village into the Hidden Mist Village. And what they do is kill government officials until eventually it is found out that my man Kisame is the person killing people and left and right. So he has to escape because the Hidden Mist Village is on him. Zabuza had already left, so he's basically the only one by himself in the 7 swordsmen doing these assassinations, and before he gets caught, he dips to the Akatsuki. Next up on this list and last 7 swordsmen, again, there's a lot of them. This guy actually is a father, which is a little bit rare. Raiga makes a human named Bunga that he doesn't even know about. The dude dies, becomes a missing ninja. He's actually one of the few that does survive, might die literally just bodying them. He had the Kiba swords after Amari Ringo. There's not too much we know about him, but he was in a filler episode that he does become a crime boss after becoming a missing ninja from Hidden Mist Village. Finally, we're going to talk about the silent killing technique that so many of the 7 swordsmen already knew. But guys, not everybody in the Hidden Mist can actually use this technique, which a lot of people think they can, but you have to have immense chakra control and a lot of chakra to pull out a dense fog to conceal your movements and make your movements silent, or the silent killing technique. Most of the 7 swordsmen come from an Anbu and Jonin background, but that doesn't mean they can use this technique. So what it does is produce a dense fog that you're able to not be able to be seen or heard, and you most likely will come up behind your opponent, slice their throat. Hey, don't demonetize me. Listen, hey, YouTube, talk to me real quick. And then you will make sure they can't move or say anything. Most likely the body will drop silently, and then you move on to the next target. Silent killing technique for the Hidden Mist Village and the 7 swordsmen was very important and rare. Here's a few things and fun facts about the 7 swordsmen. First things first, we don't know why they all have shark teeth. It doesn't make sense to me either. At least 2 members from the 7 swordsmen were formerly of the Mist Anbu. The 7 swordsmen had the most amount of missing ninja than any other village or Anbu previously. They had 4, which is a little bit ridiculous. Here's a weird fun fact for you. Raiga actually appeared in the anime before he was even put into the manga, which they didn't even know what he looked like. The anime just made it up, and the manga was like, you know what, that looks pretty good. One thing you guys probably didn't know about is Kisame has a lot of guilt and insecurities, especially for killing the Cypher Core, which he didn't have to do, and killing a lot of other people, which Fugaki made him do, and being basically betrayed by his own village really hurt him deep and made him mistrust a lot of people. Later on, that kind of comes back to show in his loyalty towards Itachi. The 7 swordsmen have such a reputation in the Hidden Mist Village. Most ninjas who are in the Hidden Mist train day and night to be one of the 7 swordsmen, just to fall short, unfortunately. That's why the Hidden Mist Village has the most sword users than any other ninja village. The 7 swordsmen were basically a mercenary group within the Hidden Mist Village that were sent out to specialized missions. Much like the Akatsuki, they were sent on things that were basically, you're gonna kill these people and you're gonna be quiet about it. They protected secrets in the Hidden Mist Village. They were basically the Mizukage's special group of individuals, kind of like the Anbu, but at the beck and call of the Mizukage, that had secret missions not even the Anbu knew about. There's actually a new 7 swordsman. Well, there was actually, but then Boruto and his team messed it up. But supposedly there's no filler in Boruto. The academy students visit the Hidden Mist Village and they see a coup happening, and they help the Hidden Mist Village and they break up the 7 swordsmen, and some go to jail, some don't. Actually, in the newer episodes of Boruto, you see a few kind of realize, hey, I want to be a 7 swordsman and help the Hidden Mist Village. And the new guy who holds the twin sword is basically killing it right now. He's kind of leading the 7 swordsmen, which I actually like Kagura. I'm not going to lie to you. Guys, let me know what you think about the 7 swordsmen down in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much.